I'm Kourtney Smith.
And I'm Elyse Sharp.
And we are two nerds who are here to make Shakespeare easier to understand.
In this podcast, we will explore as many dimensions to Shakespeare's plays as we can by looking at the text, examining the historical context in which the plays were written, and how his plays are viewed through modern lenses of feminism, racism, classism, colonialism, nationalism, ableism, all of the isms.
We will discuss how his plays shaped both the past and present, and, as theater makers, how his plays can be responsibly performed today, all while trying our best to approach his works without giving in to bardolatry.
So, Shakespeare anyone?
Hi, listeners. Want to support Shakespeare Anyone? Visit shakespeareanyone.com/support or check out the links in our episode description. Now, onto the episode. Welcome to another Shakespeare Anyone mini-episode. In these mini-episodes, we'll be exploring topics that are related to Shakespeare but aren't necessarily connected to whatever play we've been discussing.
And they're mini because, well, they're shorter than our other episodes. They're like quartos if the regular episodes are folio editions.
In today's episode, we'll be talking about early modern English nobility. Shakespeare's history plays are about monarchs and royal lineages, and the world he was writing in was organized by ranks and degrees. So, we think it's important to talk about these pivotal ranks, from kings to landed gentry.
And we want to acknowledge that this mini-episode is strictly focusing on the social ranks from the crown down to the landed gentry. We will be discussing additional social ranks of England in forthcoming episodes.
Who is the nobility? How do noble families get their titles? And what do nobles even do?
In England, nobility is a hereditary social rank that was appointed by the monarchy, and in return, noble families served the sovereign, also called the monarch, the throne, or the crown. The power the monarch possesses has ebbed and flowed throughout the centuries depending on the politics of the United Kingdom. But one role that the monarch has had since the High Middle Ages is the fount of honor.
As the fount of honor, the monarch, by virtue of their official position, has the right of conferring legitimate titles of nobility. The titled nobility are part of the peerage, a social class that dates back to King William I. After King William I conquered England in 1066, he divided England into estates and gave these estates to the first English barons. William I called on these barons, as well as church leaders, to be advisors to the crown.
It is thought that these councils became the House of Lords, which by the 14th century was a distinct branch of England's bicameral parliament. The House of Lords, made up of the Lords Spiritual, aka archbishops and bishops, and the Lords Temporal, aka nobles, comprised the entirety of the peerage. Until 1999, members of the peerage were entitled to seats in the House of Lords and were exempt from jury duty.
The noble titles within the peerage are made up of 5 ranks. First and highest rank is Duke or Duchess, followed in descending order Marquis or Marchioness, Earl or Countess, Viscount or Viscountess, and Baron or Baroness. Titles of the peerage are either hereditary and generally passed down from father to eldest son, or conferred by the sovereign unto their subjects. An individual can hold multiple titles, and a specific title's seniority is based upon when it was first created. Therefore, older titles are regarded as having higher seniority compared to more recently established titles.
The rank of Duke or Duchess is the highest noble rank of the peerage. The word comes from the Latin word dux, which signified a leader, and originally the title signified sovereign status. In 1337, it became a peerage rank when King Edward III made his son, Edward the Black Prince, the Duke of Cornwall. For the first almost 150 years after the first dukedom was created, other dukedoms were first created for male descendants of the royal house. However, After the creation of the Dukedom of Norfolk in 1483, the rank of Duke or Duchess became recognized as not being exclusive to royal relatives.
In 1448, Sir William de la Pole, Marquis of Suffolk, was created Duke of Suffolk and became the first subject who was not related to the royal family to receive a dukedom. Until 1615, dukedoms were created through a ceremony in Parliament that involved the fastening of a ceremonial sword to a belt or girdle, instead of by letters patent under the Great Seal of the Sovereign, like all other peerage patents.
The second highest noble rank of the peerage is Marquis or Marchioness. The title comes from the Norman word marchio, which referred to earls or barons who guarded border territories between England and either Scotland or Wales. These border territories were also called marches. In 1385, the rank was introduced to England when King Richard II made Robert de Vere, 9th Earl of Oxford, the first Marquis of Dublin, and established that the Marquis ranked between dukes and earls.
This new title did not sit well with existing earls, who did not like that the rank of Marquis was given precedence over earls. After Robert de Vere was made Duke of Ireland in 1386, the marquisate was revoked. The title of Marquis remained unpopular to the point that, in 1402, John Beaufort, the eldest legitimate son of John of Gaunt, begged King Henry IV to not restore his formal title of Marquis of Dorset, even though the House of Commons petitioned the king for its restoration. According to Beaufort, he did not want this particular title restored because, quote, "the name of Marquis is a strange name in this realm," unquote. In the 21st century, there are still far fewer marchionates compared to dukedoms or earldoms.
The third highest rank and oldest title in the peerage is Earl or Countess. The feminine version of the rank is Countess because there is no feminine styling of the word Earl. However, the rank corresponds to noble ranks in France and Germany that translate to Count. The title's origins can be traced back to Denmark, and it first appeared in England during the reign of King Canute, which lasted from 1016 to 1035.
In medieval England, earls replaced the role of aldermen and served as a royal governor of a shire or province, or sometimes several counties, under the king. As the representative of the crown, earls presided over the courts of the localities they managed alongside the bishop of the local diocese and were responsible for collecting taxes. Under Norman kings, earldoms were made hereditary and earldoms were restricted to overseeing a single county. Eventually, the administrative duties of an earl were transferred to the county sheriff, which was a position that the earl might also hold. Whether or not the earl was also the sheriff, the earl in general was still entitled to a third of the profits of justice in the court they presided over.
Starting with King Richard II, earldoms were either granted for an individual's lifetime or were made hereditary titles that could be inherited by direct male descendants of the original title owner. Like dukes, historically, the title of earl was given through a ceremony that included the fastening of a ceremonial sword to a belt or girdle. During the reign of Edward VI, the ceremony grew to include the donning of a cap of dignity and a golden circlet on the head. Also like the ducal ceremony, the ceremonial rights of the earl were ended in 1615 and replaced with a letters patent under the Great Seal.
The fourth peerage rank is Viscount or Viscountess. The title originates from the office of deputy or lieutenant of a count, aka a viscount, which was a hereditary rank in the Holy Roman Empire by the beginning of the 10th century. In the British peerage, it was first recorded in 1440 when King Henry IV, King of England and of France, consolidated the titles of the two countries and made John Lord Beaumont into Viscount Beaumont in both countries. The new title was given precedence above all barons, but did not become popular until the 17th century, and has always been created by letters patent under the Great Seal. However, after the origination of the title, subsequent titles were passed down through hereditary lines. Historically, viscounts administered justice and personal affairs and collected revenue and taxes from the common people.
The final rank of the peerage is baron or baroness, which was introduced in England by the Normans. The title originated in the European feudal system and literally meant man. In the feudal system, a baron was a subject who pledged loyalty and service to the sovereign in exchange for land that could be passed on through hereditary lineage. In the 13th century, barons began to be summoned by the monarch to attend council or parliament. While initially the privilege of attending council or parliament was not necessarily extended through the hereditary line, by the reign of King Edward III, it had become usual for the successors of the more important barons to receive the privilege. Thus, through this practice, a hereditary dignity of the title was created.
The first baron to be formally created via letters patent under the Great Seal was John Beauchamp de Holt, who King Richard II made Baron Kidderminster in 1387. After around 1440, letters patent under the Great Seal became the normal method for the creation of baronies. Today, the rank of baron is the most common rank in the peerage.
Below these hereditary peers, and existing completely separate from and outside of the peerage, there are also the dignities of baronetage and knightage. The title of baronet or baronetess was created by King James I in 1611. He offered the title to 200 gentlemen of good birth who had an estate of at least £1,000 a year, on the condition that they each pay, in 3 equal installments, a sum equal to 3 years' pay to 30 soldiers. Baronets and baronetesses rank above all knights in England except Knights of the Garter.
Members of the knightage were originally professional cavalry soldiers, but by the 1500s, knighthoods had become an honorific title that sovereigns bestowed onto their subjects for a variety of different services. A knighthood is not hereditary, and while a noble can be a knight, the title of knight does not confer nobility. The titles of knight or dame are conferred for life only.
The lowest rank of British nobility, existing below the peerage, baronetage, and knightage, was the historic social class of landowners who were able to live entirely from rental income without working, known as the landed gentry. Their wealth and lack of need to work allowed members of the landed gentry to receive a certain level of education and experience a level of leisure.
The rank of esquire, and later squire, could be given to the members of the gentry by the crown or through holding certain offices such as justice of the peace. The lowest rank within the gentry, gentleman, was used for landowners who were not knighted and did not hold a peerage title in order to distinguish them as being above yeomen or land-owning farmers. While members of the landed gentry were considered commoners in comparison to the peerage, gentry could be wealthier than members of the peerage. Many were close relatives of members of the peerage, and it was not uncommon for gentry to marry into the peerage.
As King Henry V said to his noble crew, on, you noblest English."
And that's early modern nobility.
Thank you for listening.
I'm Kourtney Smith.
And I'm Elyse Sharp.
This is Shakespeare Anyone?
Thank you so much for listening to Shakespeare Anyone. Works referenced in this episode are available in the episode description. Our theme music is Neverending Minute by Sounds Like Sander.
If you would like to support us, visit shakespeareanyone.com/support or check out the links in our episode description. You can also hit the subscribe button, like us, leave a comment, write a review, share us on social media, tell a friend about us, all the things. We'd appreciate it. For more, you can visit our website, shakespeareanyone.com, or follow us on Instagram at shakespeareanyonepod.
Now, because you listened all the way to the end of the credits, here is a completely random Shakespeare quote for you. From Henry IV, Part 2, Act 2, Scene 2, said by Bardolph. "Away, you horse and upright rabbit, away!